beauties, and thank you for watching The Beauty Shaman. So today I have Ben Fuchs with us, and we're going to talk about a subject that is so big, right? So many women have this issue, and that is crepey lids. So before we get started, let me just tell you who Ben is. If you aren't aware of who Ben Fuchs is, he is the creator of Truth Treatment Skincare, which is my very favorite skincare. He is a compounding pharmacist, nutritionist, and skincare chemist. He is also host of Ben's Bright Side Radio every day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 10 a.m. Look down below in the drop down for the link in order to listen to him every day, which would be phenomenal. So thank you so much, Ben, for joining me.
Thank you for wanting me.
All right, so crepey lids. So I just made this video. This is why I'm so made up on Sophia Loren's makeup. So one of the keys with Sophia Loren's makeup is you cannot have crepey lids because they're doing so much eyeshadow. So before I started that in the video, I brought out my C serum and put it on my lids. Now I don't have crepey lids, but I think the key component here is so many women have this very dry kind of crepey skin around their eyes and other parts of their body, not just their eyes, right? We're going to talk about crepey skin on the whole. But I think this is a really important thing for you to address because you are the skincare chemist. So what do we do about crepey lids and crepey skin?
Okay, so crepey, first of all, the skin around the lids is the thinnest skin in the body. So you're going to notice things on the lids, on the eyelids, more than you're going to notice it on other areas. And it's harder to treat the eyelids because the skin is so thin there and the blood supply is so close to the surface. So you got to be a little bit careful what you put on top of the lids. Additionally, we got to have in our mind's eye, we got to see how the skin is structured. So the skin, contrary to appearances, is built like it's stratified. It's built like baklava or like lasagna. It's got layers in it. And it doesn't look like it's got layers, but it does. And it doesn't look like there's layers anywhere, but it especially doesn't look like there's layers here on the top of the eyes. How many layers can you have? Well, you do. You got lots of layers. They're very thin and they're microscopic. When you have crepey skin, what you're experiencing is the thinning of connective tissue. And when the connective tissue thins, instead of it being plump like this, the stuff on the top hangs over on top of it. It's kind of like you've got this beefy connective, when you're young, you got this beefy connective tissue and then the surface. But as this thing kind of shrivels with age, the stuff on the top flops over. Can you picture how that happens? Right. That's what crepey skin really is. It's the skin on the top, or the tissue on the top. It's called epithelial tissue. And that epithelial tissue will usually sit on top of that connective tissue and be taut. When you're young, it's taut because you've got some pressure here from the connective tissue. But as that pressure diminishes, when the connective tissue thins, instead of being taut, now it kind of hangs. And that's what looks like crepe. That's why we think of it as crepey tissue. Then that crepey tissue, because it's so thin, is more subject to dehydration, drying, and because it's not getting fed and sustained from the bottom, it itself begins to thin. And that's where you get that crepey, thin, old look to the skin. It all starts off with the connective tissue. And this connective tissue deterioration doesn't just happen in the skin. It happens in the bones, it happens in the joints, it happens in the fascia, which is the stuff that holds our organs together. It happens globally and systemically. And in fact, everything we hate about aging is really the deterioration of this connective tissue. So in a way, you could think of crepey skin as osteoporosis of the skin. It's a thinning and a deterioration of the connective tissue, which leads to a breakdown, if you will, or a kind of hanging or a laxity of the epithelial tissue. Well, bottom line is build the connective tissue. Not only will you be helping your crepey skin, but you'll be helping your bones and your vascular system and your heart and all the other parts of the body that depend on connective tissue. Build connective tissue with our collagen recovery complex. Collagen, by the way, is the main protein in connective tissue. So people will synonymously use those two terms, collagen and connective tissue, but connective tissue properly is a matrix that's made up of fibers, protein fibers like collagen, also elastin, and another one called reticulin in a jelly-like system. And this is jelly-like goo that has fibers in it that holds the body in place and keeps the skin bulky and thick and beefy, like when we're young and we're healthy. It's this matrix, this connective tissue matrix with the collagen that deteriorates and shrivels up, using collagen recovery complex and collagen building supplements like, or collagen building foods like bone broth, for example, will help you build that connective tissue, the collagen and the high hyaluronic acid. Speaking of high hyaluronic acid, taking high hyaluronic acid will help too. We use high hyaluronic acid in our collagen recovery complex. Hyaluronic acid, by the way, is a major component of this connective tissue, and that's why people think that they can build connective tissue by putting high hyaluronic acid on their skin. Not going to happen. You got to build your own high hyaluronic acid, and that gets to our topical strategies. One of the best ways to build connective tissue and build high hyaluronic acid or improve high hyaluronic acid production and collagen production is to use retinol. Vitamin A, retinol, and if you want to go get a prescription, Retin A is a primary stimulator of connective tissue. It helps turn on the cells that make connective tissue. I should tell you this, you probably heard this term. The cells that make connective tissue are the holy grail of skincare. The cells that make the connective tissue are the target of, or should be the target of topical skincare. There's not a lot of ingredients that can access these cells. They're called fibroblasts. And the fibroblast, as the name implies, makes fiber, but it also makes high hyaluronic acid and some of these squishy substances that are part of the connective tissue. So in addition to using collagen recovery complex, eating bone broth protein, making sure you're taking essential fatty acids, making sure you're using vitamin C, orally vitamin C, which is in our collagen recovery complex, using retinol on a regular basis is very important for building connective tissue and helping protect or prevent or even reverse crepey skin.
Go ahead.
You want to say something?
So retinol, can you use that on your eyelids? Speaking
No.
of crepey, I was going to say, I don't think we can, right? So that has to be not close to the eyes.
Yeah, you can't use retinol on the eyelids.
Right.
So that's not for crepey skin on the body. That's for crepey skin on the body. Yes, because the eyelid skin is so thin and retinol is so strong. Right. However, you can use vitamin C, and vitamin C is also important for building connective tissue. In fact, as I was telling you earlier, vitamin C deficiency disease is connective tissue deficiency disease. And vitamin C is the critical component in the production of connective tissue, both used topically as well as internally. We put it in our collagen recovery complex, but using vitamin C, fat-soluble vitamin C, I'll tell you why that's important here in a moment, not ascorbic acid. Fat-soluble vitamin C is important for helping turn on the fibroblasts. Why fat-soluble? Because it has to get to the fibroblasts, which are located deep. The fibroblasts are located in the dermis, which is located underneath the skin surface. So while it doesn't look like there's depth here, and from a casual perspective, there isn't depth, but from a histological or microscopic perspective, there's a lot of depth there. And that vitamin C that you put on top of the skin has to traverse its way through many layers before it gets down to the dermis. Water-soluble vitamin C ascorbic acid can't do that. You need fat-soluble vitamin C to do that. I don't care what anybody who manufactures or sells water-soluble vitamin C tells you. It's a biochemical fact that you're not going to be able to get ascorbic acid from the stratum corneum or the skin surface down into the dermis. So you need a fat-soluble form of vitamin C. That's why that's basically the form we use in all of our tooth treatments is fat-soluble vitamin C. And that's in addition, of course, to taking vitamin C internally. And then there's also hydroxy acids, which have a very interesting mechanism of action for turning on the fibroblasts. Hydroxy acids disrupt the surface of the skin. And when the surface of the skin is disrupted, it's as if there's like a little window to the top that the fibroblasts can see, and they can see, hey, there's shingles missing from the roof. We gotta turn things on. It's a evolutionary mechanism that is designed for the skin to repair itself. So when you use alpha hydroxy acids, you turn on repair mechanisms that are initiated at the level of the dermis and also even at the bottom of the epidermis that helps stimulate the production of connective tissue as well as epithelial tissue. So we call that exfoliation, and that's a very important part of skincare. And not only is exfoliation on its own helpful, but if you exfoliate before you use your retinol or your vitamin C, you'll get better penetration of your active ingredients, your vitamin C and your retinol, to the lower levels of the skin. So make sure you're using exfoliation techniques. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overdo anything that's stimulating the skin. You don't want to overdo, because anytime you stimulate, you can overstimulate. So it is a sort of art form. And if anybody's interested in starting an exfoliation program and they don't feel comfortable, they think it's too intense, see Suzanne or see whoever it is that's your skincare professional and have them guide you through the process. See somebody who understands how to do it, but don't avoid it any more than you avoid exercising. And there are some people who will tell you, I've heard this from, there's a doctor I know who actually goes out and tells people this. They say, don't exfoliate. Don't, because it's too hard on your skin. Well, that's like saying don't exercise because it's too hard on your muscles. Anybody who thinks that exfoliation is something to avoid because it's too hard on the skin might as well say, oh, I'm not going to ever go to the gym because that's really hard on my muscles. That hurts my muscles. Well, obviously, it's going to put stress on your muscles if you exercise, but what happens the next day? You get bigger muscles. Well, same thing with the skin. When you exfoliate, obviously, you're putting a stressor on the skin, but what happens the next day? You just want to make sure that you're doing it correctly. You don't want to overdo it. You want to take care of your rest period. Make sure you're leveraging the rest period between doses or between exfoliating procedures, but you should definitely be doing it at least 2 or 3 times a week, and make sure you're using supplementation with it, as well as topical nutrients, specifically topical vitamin C and topical retinol.
You know, I know some products, there was one product line that I was going to do a review on, and then I decided against it because I didn't like it. And one of the reasons was that they wanted you to exfoliate every single day with the cleanser. And I thought, no, that's way too hard on the skin. I mean, you need to do it. And plus with the cleanser, it was like very rough on the skin. And I thought, no, I think that's too much.
You need to rest, need the rest period, because the collagen and the connective tissue and the cells don't grow when you're exfoliating. They grow the next day when you're resting. Right. So if you're constantly exfoliating, you don't give the tissue a chance to recover. It's like when people go to the gym, sometimes they get all excited, they go every day, and then they get all sore and they don't get the benefits that they want because they're not giving their tissue a chance to recover. The weightlifting isn't the benefit, isn't when you get the benefit. That just turns it on. That just stimulates it. You get the benefit when you're sitting at home on TV, sitting on your couch at home watching TV, when you're the recovery phase. And that's what you want to understand. Leverage, take advantage of the rest period. Stimulation, short bursts of stimulation. This is the best way to exercise your body too. Short bursts of stimulation followed by long, luscious rest.
Yes. And don't we love that? We love to rest.
But we don't love, but Suzanne, we don't love rest. We love rest after stress.
Right. That's
just
exactly
rest by itself. You can't stay in bed. That's horrible. But the rest that occurs after stress, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's when the body recovers. That's when you really start to feel good, is the rest that occurs after you stress out, after you put some stress into the body.
Absolutely. And the same thing can be said of the skin. Like after you get, maybe a peel done or, microdermabrasion or something, 1-2 days later, you're like, wow, I look so amazing,
Yes. 1 or 2 days later. Exactly.
Exactly
right.
Well, this is awesome. I think you've given some great insight into Crepey Lids, Crepey skin in general, and just where people can go to build their connective tissue and their fascia. Some of the products that you make that are so helpful with your collagen, vitamins, as well as the external. Of course, I love transdermal sea serum. It's my absolute all-time favorite. I love that stuff. If I could soak in it, take a bath in it, I totally would. I love it.
Your skin's beautiful.
Well, I've seen so much of a dramatic change on my skin since I've been using it, as well as obviously I do a ton of stuff. I'm like you, I do all my supplements. I'm very, very into health and nutrition and exercise and the whole 9 yards. But in any case, thank you so much for all of this.
Thank you.
I think you've given a lot of insight, and ladies, I really ask questions down below. Ben is really phenomenal about going on and answering them. If I can't, which sometimes happens, I am not as experienced as he is. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned a lot. Please stay tuned for our other videos, or go to my channel and look him up. I've done a whole series of videos with Ben that are super informative. So anyway, have a great day. Take care of your crepey skin, and thank you so much for watching The Beauty Shaman.